Hey, good morning, everybody. Elijah and I are headed down to Joplin to see his papa. It's been a week or so, so we're going to go down there and hang out with him for a little bit. And just want to do today's YouTube tip on the way down there. And I've been doing quite a few fishing tip YouTube videos here lately, and I'm going to start back up again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to start a series of, it's going to be a week-long series of like lure categories, and I'm going to go through like every lure category that there is, break it down, and really give some tips and advice on, you know, how and when to fish each one of those lures under which situation. So it's going to be pretty detailed series of tips. We're going to start that tomorrow. But hey, today I want to do something a little bit different, and probably going to stir the pot a little bit here, which that's okay, because the pot needs to be stirred once in a while. You got to keep things interesting in life. And it's sort of like the little YouTube video I did on braid to fluorocarbon. You know, most everybody out there that follows me knows that I'm not a fan of braid to fluorocarbon. I use straight fluorocarbon or straight braid, like with frogs and stuff, but I don't use the braid to fluorocarbon ever on spinning tackle. And when you come out with that type of a stance, it's like you insulted somebody's mom. It's unbelievable the comments that I would get, just, you know, saying how ridiculous that was. So anyway, don't try not to take it so serious, but today's topic is why, in my opinion, you should not use a Hotfoot. And of course, you know, I fully expect, you know, there'd be a lot of people say that's ridiculous, Hotfoots are great, and that's the most, you know, outrageous claim you could make, Randy. I can't believe you'd say that, but hear me out here a little bit, and I'm going to sort of explain to you why. First of all, you know, I've been fishing, I've had a bass boat since I was 16 years old. Even though it was a 14-footer with a 9-horse motor and it leaked, I still have had a bass boat since I was 16. And I've been fishing tournaments, you know, for over 40 years. And particularly when I started fishing professionally in 1985, I've had the chance to, I've driven a bass boat on Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, all the giant waters, the places in this country that get super rough. I've been in, you know, storms with 60 and 70 mile an hour winds. You know, I've been in countless amount of days on the water when there were small craft advisories. I've ran through rapids in a bass boat. I've made 200-mile runs down the Mississippi River. I've jumped dry sandbars, actually launched my boat in the air and jumped dry sandbars to get back into other water. So my point is that I'm not bragging on my boat driving past, but I've got a lot of experience behind the wheel of a bass boat in a lot of different situations that most people would never encounter in their entire life, and I've never had one accident or incident in my entire life, and I've never had a Hotfoot. And the reason I want to talk about this a little bit is that I'll go over a couple different reasons why I don't use a Hotfoot, but the main reason that I don't use a Hotfoot is for the health of your back, because I'm almost 60 years old. And like I said, I've been fishing professionally for almost 40 years, and I have been in more rough water, and I've seen more rough water than probably than almost anybody out there. I mean, there's some of the guys out there like, you know, Clun and Nixon and Denny Brower and these guys that have fished for 40 years. They've been there with me. They know what it's like. And the thing about that is almost every single pro that I know that has fished as long as I have across the country as a touring pro, in those giant waves and giant water, they've got back problems. They've got some type of back problems. A lot of those guys have used Hotfoots. And the thing that I like about not having a Hotfoot is that in rough water, I drive a boat riding on my right knee. And what I do is I sit on my right knee, and I've got my left foot on the floor, and I drive the boat like that without a Hotfoot, because by sitting on your knee, that absorbs so much of the shock that it comes from when you land hard on a wave. And by having your left foot on the floor and your knee on the seat, you can actually cushion that. It's almost like it becomes a shock absorber. And if you've ever tried to run super rough water, especially if you're running at a fairly fast clip. With a Hotfoot, your back takes the full, it takes a full brunt of any time you land bad on a wave. And excuse me, so many of the guys I know that have Hotfoots have back problems with that. So on top of that, it's completely safe to run like that. I've got my left hand on the steering wheel at all time. I've got my right hand on the throttle and the trim switch. I've got complete control of the boat. By having my right hand on the throttle and the trim switch, I can quicker and more efficiently control my speed and my trim angle on my motor. And like I said, once you steer with your left hand and you get used to it, you can steer as effectively as you can with two hands. I'll argue that with anybody because I've done it for 40 years. So anyway, that's probably one of the main reasons that I do it. The second reason is the fact that a Hotfoot will wear you out. I mean, if you've got to make a long 50 or 60 mile run, the spring on the Hotfoot, is constantly fighting you in the other direction. It's fatiguing on your leg. And another aspect of a Hotfoot is simply another mechanical element in your boat that can break down. Cables breaks, the cables will break, springs break. I've heard several people have problems with it. So by not having a Hotfoot, it's just an issue that, allows me one less thing to worry about as far as something going bad on it. But, ultimately it's, you have to use what is comfortable for you. But I think what happens with Hotfoots, and it's sort of the same with the braid to fluorocarbon, is so many people see other people doing it, they see pros doing it, and they think that that's the way they need to do it. They think that's how they need to do. But I'm here to tell you and to sort of give you, a different viewpoint to look at, that if you practice and get good with driving without a Hotfoot, it's so much better on your health, it's so much better, on different aspects of driving the boat. And I just think that you have better control of it, without a Hotfoot. So, that's just one thing to consider. But basically, when you're talking about bass boat driving safety, the Hotfoot or not having a Hotfoot is one element of it. But the main thing is just, there's two things that are critical in driving a boat in rough water, and that is slowing down and paying attention. Most people get in trouble in big water because they're running too fast and they don't understand basically wave cycles, and they don't understand how they need to be looking ahead to the next set of waves, and they don't understand how their boat lands on certain areas, and how the hull is designed, and how that hull is going to take the shock or the absorption of something else. But anyway, it's just a matter of practice. The two biggest tips I can give you, or three biggest tips I can give you in bass boat driving in rough water, is get rid of your Hotfoot, slow down, and pay attention to what's out in front of you. And I've had, if you guys know anybody that has fished with me, talk to any co-angler that has fished with me in a rough water situation, every time they'll say, man, that was a great ride, that was the smoothest ride I've ever had. And I'm proud of the co-anglers saying that to me, because I take a lot of time and effort into, running smooth in rough water and running safe in rough water. And it's just a matter of being aware of your surroundings and just not getting in a big hurry. And I see so many, I don't want to name any names, but I could name a dozen names of pros that I see walking around hunched over like old men now. And I remember watching them 25 years ago, running like, fiends through rough water. And they're paying for it now. They're paying for it with back surgeries. They're paying for it with pain. And you don't have to do that if you just slow down, take your time, get rid of that Hotfoot, and just sort of pay attention to what you're doing, and sort of tap down that testosterone a little bit. So anyway, that's today's tip. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of people out there are not going to agree with me on that, which is fine. But like I said, I've got 40 plus years experience driving boats in the roughest water in this country. So, I've got a little bit of experience in this topic. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good weekend. We're going to go down and hang out with Dad a little bit, and we'll check in tomorrow with starting our tip series on the lure categories. So stay tuned for that. Please, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. We'll see you guys tomorrow. See you.